dad, Priam, was a part of those old cowards, old men that kept him held back. But he says, if Zeus's lightning blinded us those days, it's Zeus who drives us, hurls us on today. At the conclusion of the book, we're told that Ajax, with his huge pike, is killing the Trojans as they come at ships. He kills 12 of them, we're told, to try and fend off the ships, because once the ships start burning, and we know that Hector is going to get to at least one of these ships and burn them, and that will be the sign that for Zeus then it's over. At that moment, the Greeks will then have their ascendancy, because of course Patroclus will be killed by the great Hector. Well, let's jump to level 2 and 3 quickly. Obviously, one of the major messages of 2A is when your back is to the wall, in this case ships, you got to fight, right? You got to fight. Another one is you got to know when to back down, right, from a fight. Think about it. Hera, Poseidon, Ares, all of them had to accept the fact that they probably couldn't win against Zeus, so they had to back off, right? Another one, when things are most desperate, that's when you need the most hope, right? In other words, you got to have courage. You got to have determination in the moments when it looks like things are probably the worst. At 2B, well, we've got all kinds of symbolism going on here. I'm going to talk about, though, that Zeus's thunder strike with Nestor's prayer. And it's all a matter of interpretation. Both sides interpreting the same event. We can see this often politically as well, right? Depending on our political persuasion, an event, the same event, can be interpreted in radically two different ways. There's, of course, irony involved in that, no question. The epic simile, however, I want to come back to. We mentioned already the 202 epic similes, of which 164 are battle scenes. Let's ask this question now. Why? We could have asked it earlier, but I wanted you to meet a lot of these similes before we get here. What is up with all these similes? I mean, we just did several of them, right? The lion who is attacking the cattle, etc., etc. What is up with all these similes? I think there's a lot of good arguments. One that works, I think, for most scholars is to say, look, you're basically saying lots of people got jacked. Over and over again, you're saying this, right? And there's only so many descriptions of the ways in which a blade can jack up a human body, right? So to make this less boring, less monotonous, you've got these amazing similes. Of course, think what a simile does. It plays the very game of our learning theory. It connects something new, something unknown, to something you already know in the form of a comparison of using like or as, right? And of course, because they're epic similes, they can jump outside of the narrative and do all kinds of amazing things. As we, for example, we're looking at the one about Apollo kicking the sandcastle down the way a child will, right? Kicking the wall down, knocking the wall down the way a child kicks down a sandcastle. Think about that one. What is being actually said here? Well, humans do all this work, and the gods come along and just simply destroy it in a matter of seconds, right? Or we might say, nature and its destructive power can do that. Of course, Patroclus' final words are also a remarkable irony as well. I have to go and get Achilles to return to the war so that we can all be saved. Brutal irony. At 3A, well, here we go. The longest day of fighting from 11 through 15 has now brought us to Book 16. And as we said, Book 16 is that penultimate book where, of course, all of the foreshadowing that has kind of led us to it will bring us there. Patroclus will, of course, die in Book 16. Spoiler alert, sorry. What is for you, another 3A question, what is for you your favorite text that at the last second, when an individual or a group of individuals are losing, all of a sudden things turn around? What is that text for you? For those of us who love Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings films, right? And of course the Tolkien text as well. We're familiar with those scenes where right at the moment when you think the battle is going to go one way against them, you have the change, and that's about to happen for us, right? Think about this one, by the way. We're going to study, in our senior, we're going to study a poem by Robert Burns. It's called To a Mouse, where he apologizes, the poet speaker. He apologizes for trashing the house of a mouse that has built this little mouse inside of the, in the ground. And he will say it, the best laid plans of mice and men soon off to go awry is the translation out of the Scottish dialect. And of course Steinbeck will write Grapes of Wrath using that of mice and men line, right? But the idea is simply this: mice build and humans destroy in the same way that humans build and gods destroy. Finally, at 3B, what is a time that your wall was destroyed like a sandcastle being kicked by a kid. You did all this work, you were ready to go, and then jacked. What was a time against all odds that you were losing, and then you won? Can you think about a time that happened for you? Well, there's book 15. We now turn to book 16, and we're going to have our hearts broken. Because Patroclus, of course, will in the end, after a remarkable Aristeia. Okay, so Patroclus hasn't had his yet. He's about to have it. After his Aristeia, he will kill Sarpedon, the son of Zeus, but then he's going to come up against Hector. Of course, he's dressed in Achilles' armor, and Hector assumes that the one he's killing is Achilles. It isn't. And of course, that will, in that moment, be the end of not only Patroclus, not only Hector, but that will be the end of Troy, right? I mean, that prediction has been made here in this book. Okay, come back and we'll study book 16. I hope you're enjoying this study as much as am I. Thank you.